Welcome back to the channel. If you value deep research, serious investigation, and stories that challenge what we think we know, take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this video. And most importantly, leave your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective matters here. Now, let's get started with the episode. Tonight we ask a question that refuses to die. Were giants once real? Across continents, across religions, across centuries, stories describe enormous beings who walked among humans. Some ruled, some fought gods, some corrupted mankind, some were destroyed in catastrophic floods. But are these just myths? Or are they distorted memories of something older? Let's begin with the most cited source. In the book of Genesis 6 verse 4, we read, "There were giants in the earth in those days, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men." The Hebrew word used here is Nephilim. Its meaning is debated. Some translate it as fallen ones. Others render it as giants. The book of Numbers 13:33 adds, "We saw the Nephilim there, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers." Grasshoppers. That image is powerful. But how literal was it meant to be? Old Testament scholar Michael Heiser, in his book The Unseen Realm, wrote, "The Nephilim were not simply big humans. The text presents them as the offspring of divine beings and human women." Notice something important. Heiser emphasizes theological interpretation rather than biological gigantism. The biblical text may not be describing oversized humans in a scientific sense, but symbolic chaos figures. Yet the giant narrative does not end in the Bible. In Greek mythology, we encounter the Titans. Hesiod, writing in the 8th century BCE in Theogony, describes primordial beings of immense power who ruled before the Olympian gods. In Norse mythology, the Jotnar existed before and alongside the gods. They were not merely tall. They represented raw forces of nature. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh portrays its hero as 2/3 divine and 1/3 human. Gilgamesh is described as enormous in stature. Across Mesoamerica, oral traditions speak of a previous race of giants destroyed before humans emerged. Why do these stories repeat across cultures that never contacted each other? Anthropologist Adrienne Mayer, in her book Fossil Legends of the First Americans, argues that ancient people may have discovered large prehistoric bones and interpreted them as giant humans. She writes, "Fossils of extinct megafauna were often interpreted as the remains of giants or heroes." Imagine ancient shepherds uncovering a mammoth femur without modern paleontology. The logical explanation in their worldview would be giants. This brings us to archaeology. Have giant human skeletons ever been discovered? In the 19th and early 20th centuries, American newspapers frequently reported discoveries of enormous skeletons. Headlines from 1895 in the New York Times describe skeletons allegedly over 8 feet tall found in burial mounds. But here is where serious research matters. Archaeologist Kenneth Feder, in his book Frauds, Myths, and Mysteries, explains no verifiable giant skeleton has ever been documented in a peer-reviewed archaeological context. Many of those newspaper reports lacked photographs, preserved remains, or museum records. Some were hoaxes. Others were exaggerations. There is also a long-running claim that the Smithsonian Institution covered up giant skeleton discoveries. In 2014, the Smithsonian publicly addressed this allegation, stating, "The Smithsonian has never been involved in any cover-up of giant skeletons." Independent investigations have found no physical evidence in their archives supporting the claim. So what does physical anthropology say? The average height of ancient humans varied by region and era, but skeletal remains from Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Europe show normal human height ranges. Yes, some individuals were tall. Extremely tall. Medical science recognizes a condition called gigantism, caused by excess growth hormone, often due to pituitary tumors. One well-documented case is Robert Wadlow, born in 1918, who reached 8 feet 11 inches. His skeleton is preserved and medically documented. Gigantism is real. But a race of giants? That is another claim entirely. Let's look at the fossil record. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, appear around 300,000 years ago. Before them were Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo erectus. None averaged anywhere near the colossal proportions described in myth. Paleoanthropologist Chris Stringer of the Natural History Museum in London has repeatedly stated that no evidence exists for a giant hominin species in the fossil record. The fossil record is incomplete, yes, but a race of 12-foot humans would leave unmistakable skeletal evidence. and none has been verified. So why does the belief persist? Psychology offers insight. Carl Jung proposed the concept of archetypes. Giant figures often represent power, chaos, or ancient forces that humanity must overcome. Giants appear at transitional points in myth. Before floods, before divine resets, before new ages. They symbolize the world before order. There is also something else. In times of uncertainty, people gravitate toward hidden histories. The idea that something massive has been concealed is compelling. It makes the believer feel like an insider. Historian Ronald Numbers, who studied the rise of creationism and alternative history movements, observed alternative histories flourish where distrust of institutions is high. Giant cover-up theories gained popularity in the late 20th century, alongside growing skepticism towards scientific authority. But let's pause. Is it possible myths preserve distorted memories of real encounters with unusually tall groups? Some researchers suggest that ancient tribes encountering significantly taller neighboring populations could have exaggerated the difference over generations. An average difference of 1 foot, retold for centuries, becomes 10 feet. Or consider this. In a world without skyscrapers, electricity, or industrial machinery, even a very tall warrior would seem almost supernatural. Scale matters in perception. There is also the geological factor. In many parts of the world, large burial mounds exist. The Adena and Hopewell cultures in North America built massive earthworks. Early settlers sometimes misinterpreted these structures and speculated about a lost giant race. Modern excavation shows these mounds contain normal human remains. But the myth endured. So where does that leave us? We have ancient texts describing giants, cross-cultural myth parallels, newspaper exaggerations, medical cases of extreme height, zero verified skeletal evidence of a giant race. The weight of archaeological evidence leans heavily against literal giants ruling the earth. But the story itself reveals something deeper. Every civilization seems to remember a time before humanity's current order. A chaotic age, a powerful race, a fall. Maybe the giants are not about bones. Maybe they are about memory, or warning, or identity. As scholar John Walton notes in The Lost World of Genesis 1, the ancient text speaks in a language of its time. To read it properly, we must understand the worldview of its original audience. When we read about giants, we must ask whether we are reading history, theology, symbolism, or a blend of all three. So were giants real? If we define real as biologically verified large hominin species dominating Earth, the evidence says no. If we define real as powerful mythic archetypes embedded deeply in human consciousness across cultures, then absolutely yes. And that may be the more important reality. Because myths shape civilizations. They influence politics, religion, art, and even modern conspiracy culture. The question is not only whether giants walk the earth. The question is why humanity continues to need them. Next episode, we move from giants to the builders of the pyramids. Were the Anunnaki extraterrestrial engineers who shaped early civilization? Or are ancient texts being mistranslated for modern fascination? We will examine tablets, scholars, and the origins of one of the most controversial theories in alternative history. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe without leaving their thoughts and make them eager for next episode. This is Curiosity Kenyon. Stay curious. Stay vigilant.